right, let's get to it. Zac Lomax is spotted leaving headquarters today, rugby headquarters. Reedy, what's the latest?
Well, I think that's a terrible look. For starters, I think it's a bad look what he wore to a meeting with the AAU, the Rugby Australia. I mean, could put some decent clobber on. The second thing is it's not a great...
Oh,
mate, shorts and a T-shirt, fair income. The second part, seriously, you're having a serious meeting about your future and you wear shorts and a T-shirt. I'm not sure who's advising him. But secondly, I'd say this is a bad look for rugby league.
Is it?
I mean, the day after he's been blocked from coming... This is exactly what Peter V'landys feared. That Zac Lomax, let me finish, that Zac Lomax would become a poster boy for rugby union. It's exactly the issue we have.
Poster boy?
Well, he is. He's posted all over the back page of the Telegraph.
Oh.
He's all over the internet after a meeting with Rugby Australia. This is exactly what Peter V'landys talked about. This is not what we want.
Is it not a bad look for rugby who courted him around Christmas and he said no, was willing to go to court to stay in rugby league, and now he's come back in cap in hand to rugby union. They go, yeah, we'll probably still take you. That shows where rugby's at more so than rugby league's at.
We know rugby's on its knees. We know that. But it's still a bad look that Zac Lomax is meeting with the Rugby Australia, in my opinion.
I think it's more embarrassing for rugby than it is rugby league.
No.
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all, to be honest.
Doesn't it?
Bother you?
You don't care that a rugby league stars parade around out the front of Rugby Australia's headquarters?
I don't see rugby union as a threat. I don't know, do you?
Well, they've taken a few players off us in the last 12 months or 2 years.
Have we missed them?
Can I just ask?
You know, I heard you guys talking about this last night. Yeah. We don't miss these blokes go and we'll replace them. That's not the point. Why do we want elite rugby league players playing another code? Why do we want that? We shouldn't want that.
No one wants it.
We shouldn't be. Why are we comfortable with it? Why do we accept it and go, well, someone else will come along, someone else will replace Joe Suaalii?
I think it's more embarrassing.
We didn't make any decisions for anyone to go anywhere. You know who made the decision? Him.
Well, he didn't have a choice, Braith. Who's he playing for?
Who signed it?
Who's he playing for?
Who signed the contract?
He signed it.
Okay.
But he doesn't have a choice now.
We'll get to this because I knew you were fired up and you've jumped the gun.
You fired me up.
Yeah, and you know what? I hope you fire up some more because I'm enjoying this. Any NRL clubs keen or will he land in rugby union?
It's pretty clear. I mean, there's no rugby league clubs keen on Zac Lomax from what I understand. There's no one who's put their hand up to sign him. Even the Perth Bears, as I understand it, aren't interested in Zac Lomax.
Wow. But then you just said it's a big star.
Yeah.
Well, he is a big star, but he also comes with baggage, Gordy. We all know the baggage Zac brings. I mean,
what is that?
Well, you know, he's broken his last 2 contracts. It's pretty obvious. Like, that's the baggage you get with Zac Lomax.
How's that rugby league's responsibility when you've just said...
It's not rugby league's responsibility, but it's still a blow to rugby league that we lose a player of that talent and that ilk. He's a New South Wales State of Origin player, Australian player.
Life or death question this. Do you think he'll be playing rugby league within 12 months?
Probably.
Oh, what do you want about?
Because he'll spend 12 months in rugby union break and they'll benefit from it. I care.
Why?
There's rugby league fans out there who care.
Do you care that much?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that the rugby union gets a free hit out of us.
Are you going to lose sleep tonight?
Well, of course I'm not going to. I've been in Vegas for a week and a half. I'll sleep. I lose any sleep. I need plenty.
Honestly, Rudy. But mate, you're so emotional about this. I don't understand it.
Well, you're getting emotional talking about it.
No, because you come in fired up and you're blaming everyone else but the person who made the decision.
No, Zac's got to wear... Zac and his manager who gave him his advice, Clinton Shakosby and Steve Gillis, whose management company look after him, they've got to accept their share of responsibility for this, right? They have to. Because I don't know who was giving him advice, but he got some poor advice, right? And Zac's made a really, in hindsight, a dumb decision, right? But that shouldn't mean his rugby league career is potentially over.
It's not over.
It's potentially is over.
He's getting punished for it.
Oh, mate,
do you honestly care,
this is ridiculous.
About rugby union?
We've got guys playing rugby league who've done abhorrent things. Abhorrent things. This bloke has just broken a contract, and we're saying, go away for a year.
You just said,
how are you comparing it to abhorrent things? Okay. Now, for so long now, and we're going to go over it again, for so long now we talk about the contracts, making sure that we stand up for our rights and we do the right thing. You know, we're trying to set an example here because it just happens, and you're going to go on about it soon, I know. Because we go on and on about it. Now, there's been players that have left and walked out on contracts, and you're going to go on about coaches that have done the same. But have they signed an agreement 6 weeks before? So he signed an agreement that said, Zac, if you leave, first of all, it's 10 years you're gone, but here it is. You sign here, mate, you can't play for another club.
So do you think when he signed that contract, he thought there was someone offered $750,000 transfer fee for him, that he would be blocked from coming back to the game?
I don't even think there's no way he thought of that.
Well, how
That's
do you
not
know?
his- that's
How
not
do you
his
know?
thinking.
If he
That's
went,
not
if
his
he went to
thinking.
well, why then? If he went to rugby union, there was a $200,000 bounty on his head, right? R360 had to pay $200,000 for him. That was the valuation put on him. The Melbourne Storm have offered $750,000, and we can argue all we like about they don't get any footy benefit out of it.
Yeah.
They do get footy benefit because they've got Zac Lomax off their salary cap for 3 years,
Yeah.
$2.1 million. That's the footy
Yeah,
benefit
but
they get out of it.
that wasn't a
That's
benefit
not-
at the time when an Origin Australian player walked out on them when they needed him. That
they
wasn't
need
a benefit
It's
until
a
months
benefit in the
later.
long term, Braith.
It wasn't long term when
who's
he
on the
walked out on
market?
them.
So who's on the market? And then,
Well, God,
and
God,
then
to be
hold
fair-
on.
to
And
be-
then
who knows?
You spoke about other players, right?
Yeah.
That have done other things, right? And you know, and that's hard to argue. But other clubs wanted them, so it's not the game's fault that no one wants him at
Well,
the price
a
that
club
he wants.
does want him. Melbourne want him.
Rudy, you
Let's look
said-
at
well,
pay for him.
Let's look at Parramatta.
Pay for him.
You said that no one wanted him, right? Now, I went back and had a look at some quotes.
Yep.
When Melbourne Storm first approached Zac,
Yes.
there were 6 other clubs that wanted him.
I haven't heard any of those clubs come out
Matt
publicly.
Tripp said it.
Well, I haven't heard
And,
any.
he
have you,
knocks Matt Tripp back and the 6
have
other
you
clubs.
heard a club say that? I haven't heard a club come out publicly say
It
they're
says
interested in
here,
Zac
when it
Lomax.
became apparent that R360 wasn't happening, we contacted his management,
Yep.
as did 6 other clubs.
Okay, well, I don't
Because
see,
you keep,
I don't
you
see
keep
any
saying
clubs.
because
Where are the other
I'll tell
clubs,
you why,
Braith?
but
Why?
because they've been resilient, Melbourne, and they've chased and chased and chased.
Yep.
And it's hard. I don't want to go any further with it, but there was interest, all right. And for some reason,
Doesn't
the
appear,
interest
really.
has backed off, right?
Feels like there's only one club to me, but anyway, go on.
Yeah, but but you keep saying no one else was interested, and and this is why I keep saying to you that I'm telling you now, within 12 months, and you know what, Reedy, Parramatta haven't said that they don't want him to come back to the game. They just want a player in return. They don't want money. Melbourne did not have a sufficient player to replace Zac Lomax. There's other clubs now over the next 12 months that I guarantee you, one of them will have a player that Parramatta will go, you know what, he's going to help and benefit our team. We're okay with it. Zac, you can come back.
The Bulldogs.
Let's see.
It's unlucky for Melbourne.
Who's going from the Bulldogs?
Well, Matt Burton, wouldn't he? Because you're squashing him out the other day because of that setup.
I actually think that's a really good swap.
But that's
right?
a that's a
There you
that's
go.
an example.
So that's
But
what
hasn't
Melbourne
happened.
did.
Yeah, but
No,
it's
but that's what
it's
Melbourne
gonna
didn't
happen.
have.
It's going to happen.
It hasn't happened.
But Melbourne
Right.
didn't have
But that-
a like for like. And if I'm going to give up a player in today's game, you need someone to walk straight back in. Parramatta are building nicely.
But
Why
they
would
were
they let
happy for him to go to rugby. So
That's right.
They weren't replacing
But
him
you don't
anyway.
want him to go to your
They were going to
rival.
go on without anyone
Brady,
replacing
they
him.
didn't- I just-
happy.
if they
They
didn't
weren't
put the
happy.
clause in,
Really?
They weren't happy.
Brady, if they didn't put the clause in,
Yeah.
and come Christmas time, they wake up on Christmas Day and Zac Lomax at the Melbourne Storm, what would we be saying about
I
Parramatta?
don't have an
What
issue.
would we be saying
I
about
do not have
Parramatta?
an issue with the clause.
So what's
right?
your issue? The
My
fact that-
issue is they offered an exorbitant amount of money. There's no one in this city at this table right now that would say Zac Lomax is worth 750 grand. They offered a ridiculous amount of money.
Parramatta have
for
been
him,
clean.
and
They could
Parramatta
have
knocked
offered
it
him
back.
$2 million. Parramatta said from the start,
the money's
as
not the
Braith
thing.
said, they want something to improve their football
They've got
team.
something to improve their footy team. They've got 700 grand off the cap for the next 3 years. Why can't they use that to improve their
Because
football
seriously,
team?
you know who they've signed? Brian Kelly. And in all due respect to Brian Kelly, he's not Zac
Yeah,
Lomax.
but you know what? We all know how this game works. We've seen it the last couple of years. Players become available. It happens. They're now sitting in a position where if a player becomes available, they are
You're
loaded.
missing the point,
They can
though.
rip in them.
He
Am I
left,
missing the
he
point?
left them
Okay.
in a hole. You're talking now, looking back on the situation. They've got money now, and you know what?
That's the only way
You're
to
not
look at
giving
it,
credit to Parramatta and their coaching staff and their footy club and the way that Jason Rolls and the club has. You can see in the trials the unity they've got. How far they've come off the field. You can tell they're going to have a good year because they've put this behind them. But they had to go through this because a player just walked out, a high-profile player, a representative player, and left them in a hole. I know that because they were scrambling after
That's
it
fine.
to see who they could buy. But you're
That's
making
fine.
out like, oh, he left and they were happy. They weren't happy. They were in a hole.
I don't think they were exactly crying their bowls, their breakfast over it.
Because of the carry-on
Bowls
around
or
R360.
Breakfast, whatever. Bowls in
Because of the
breakfast.
carry-on around R360. That's why.
Okay.
Because of Zac's carry-on, well, R360.
Because of Zac's carry on. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think they were exactly devastated that he was going.
Well, they're not. No, of course
No,
not.
they're not.
Not by the end. Not by the end. But
Really, like there's been 3 big players leave clubs, and DC and all that, and you're happy with those players. What about the fans?
That happens in life, Gordy. In life,
Does it?
it does. Happens in
And do
every.
you know what?
It happens in every sport in the world. Players leave their clubs. It happens, and Para got offered a reasonable amount of compensation. That's the key in this.
Parramatta are doing the right thing because a little smart-ass kid by the name of Gorden Tallis thought he could stand over the Dragons, hear me out here, and they made me sit out. And it's the greatest thing that happened to me, right? That the Dragons showed some spine. And our game and our clubs need to get some power back.
They've got loads of power. We're seeing
that's
Para
good.
using it right now.
Perfect.
But I'm saying they're using too much influence and too much power in this guy.
Who are the most important people in our game?
The fans.
And what do the fans think at the moment?
Well, I'm sure they're happy for Parramatta.
read the blog?
Mate,
Because-
say no more.
But hold on. Well, let's talk about Parramatta, shall we? Let's look at Parramatta's recent history, okay?
Yeah, let's go for
They
it.
tried to sign Lachlan Galvin, thought they had him.
Yeah.
How did they try to sign Lachlan Galvin? Because he broke a contract at the West Tigers, right? Got out of a contract at the West Tigers, right? They signed Zac, who had a year left in his deal at St George Illawarra. They signed him. Rosie had a contract in Melbourne. They signed him. Let's go. I'll tell you what. Let's go all the way
You're
back
putting me to
a
sleep.
Blake. No, right? You would be because I'm making sense.
No, you're not,
Let's
'cause
talk
I'm
about a
about
guy
to
named
squash
Ryan
you.
Madison, who had 2 years left on his contract at the West Tigers. Agitated to get out. Parramatta signed him, and now they're trying to get rid of him as quickly as they can to anyone who'll
Did
take
any of
him.
those guys?
So it's all good
did any
to
of
sit in
those
your ivory
guys-
tower and say.
Did any of those guys sign a contract and an agreement that said they cannot return and play for an opposition team in the NRL?
6 weeks later.
Without.
Did any of them do that, Reedy?
Well, no.
No. So, you talk about Jason Rolls. Melbourne Storm let him go and they said,
Exactly.
good luck, Rollsy. So
Yes.
Lachlan Galvin was a free agent because him and his management pushed the envelope to get out, and it was a two-horse race between them and the Bulldogs won. It was free play. So Parramatta went
would
through
we prefer
and they
that-
missed.
that
We talk about Zac. The Dragons were more because of all these shenanigans. They said, "Go, mate, we're done."
Okay, but if you're going to sit there, as Matt Beach, the chairman of Parramatta, did, and look, I have great respect for Matt Beach, highly intelligent man, very good chairman, right? But Matt sat there, he put a statement out yesterday and said words to the effect of, for the sake of the game, we've got to protect the sanctity of the contract. Yet they've signed numerous players in recent years who've left their clubs
Which every
while in the middle
club
of a
does
contract.
every year, but no scenario like this with Zac Lomax, and you're drinking the Kool-Aid,
Okay, whatever.
in my opinion.